Hello everyone, it is with great delight that we are bringing you another installment of CIS Roundtable, a monthly conversation amongst students, alumni, staff, and parents of Chinese International School on a topic of particular interest to us all.
I'm Rafaela, I'm class of 98, and I'm also a current parent of 3 children at CIS.
My name's Kimberly Fung. I'm the head of student support services here at CIS in the primary school. This is my first year here at CIS.
I'm Joshua Lowe, and I graduated in class of 2022.
I'm Alex Beatty, I'm a learning enhancement teacher in secondary and head of secondary learning enhancement.
I'm Caitlin, and I graduated from the class of 2021.
So I'd like to start just by asking us to define a little bit what we mean by learning enhancement.
Learning enhancement is really looking at how we can support students in being their best selves across academic, social, and emotional areas, and really looking at the whole child and how we can support their potential.
Do you think that learning enhancement is so important for us at CIS?
For me, I actually feel that it means that no child is left behind. We know that every single child is different, they have their own needs and challenges, and it's CIS's promise, if you will, to ensure that each child gets what they need.
I think it's a really important topic for any school, and how you said it's a responsibility. I agree, and knowing that we have like a diverse student body, we have students with different needs, doing what we can to support them. It's a really important topic.
Think about learning enhancement, yes, as meeting children's needs, but also amplifying their strengths. We're a busy school, a busy world. Everyone has such unique skill sets that they bring. And I think the importance of having children really feel seen and known for who they are, and for them to eventually know how to use those strengths in school, but also in the real world.
And what I think learning enhancement is, why it's important and why it's important to me, is the question of self-worth, and that I feel like a lot of people with certain needs and problems and issues that they're going through, their self-worth is not as strong as other people, and it's important, and learning enhancement can help them realize their full potential and allow them to kind of feel like they deserve to be here with other students and be considered normal for them. Yeah.
For me, I think that it balances things out. I always get distracted, so if I get to go to a quieter room, a more private setting, I can tell that my performance improves greatly compared to just being in the classroom taking the test with everyone else.
Is learning enhancement the same as social emotional counseling, do you think?
It's not the same, but they have so many similarities. So when I first joined, it was counseling and learning enhancement as a department. And for primary, it's student support services, that's the umbrella, and they're both inside. In secondary, we have learning enhancement department and a counseling department. But they often go hand in hand. And so we're talking about students, maybe we have a subset that lacks some confidence, or maybe feel a bit of embarrassment or stigma. That's going to require social emotional support, of course. And then sort of thinking about learning enhancement in a broad sense. Maybe we're thinking about trying to identify a barrier that a student has to their learning and trying to remove the barrier. I think that certainly everybody benefits from social emotional support.
Important thing I would emphasize is the team approach around supporting students. So in the primary, when a student comes up with a particular concern, we're really sure to talk about it as a holistic picture, so that we can really identify what are the areas that are targeted and prioritized.
How does our learning enhancement program work in the primary school?
We have quite a large team in primary. We have English student support teachers, Chinese student support teachers, and 2 counselors who work with the students. In addition to that, we have part-time occupational therapists and a speech and language therapist who work primarily with the reception students in year 1. So yeah, we work closely with the homeroom teachers to deliver in-class support and collaborate with them to talk about any challenges that students might be having in the classroom. Similar to what Alex was saying, to remove barriers where we can, but also to take that 360 look at what's going on for that student. We have booster groups running, we have small group sessions, push-in sessions. It's really a wide range of support that we provide students. We use a multi-tiered system of support in the primary school, where we have universal screeners across all the year levels to look at academic areas, but also social emotional areas. And with reception, we also look at those kind of fine motor, gross motor skills, as well as communication and articulation. And so that kind of screens some of the possible areas that we might go in and support. We'll do some class support, and if there's additional need, then we do small groups as well, and all the while communicating with the parents.
How does our learning enhancement program organize in the secondary school?
For the students in year 7, 8, and 9, we try to offer some in-class, like sort of push-in support. So myself and my colleague, Rebecca Price, we try to attend the lessons, see the student experience, pitch in and help where we can, all the students or the teacher, trying to be helpful. For those same students, we're coming up with our school-based support plan. So trying to use the information we know from the student, from their outside support and psychologists and educational psychology report, putting it together, how can we respond in the school to try to meet their needs as best we can. So that's 7, 8, and 9, and then sort of in the upper years, turns more a little bit to trying to accommodate the student as best we can in sort of like rigorous academic setting. So it does turn a little bit more to sort of the accommodations, but we're still creating the plan for the student, trying to meet with them behind the scenes, trying to support them sort of the best way that we can with some strategies or some tips, or just like trying to build confidence and internal motivation with the student.
What does it mean what do you think about when you think of flourishing?
I also think a little bit about like the culture within the school. Just as Kim was saying, like all the stakeholders have to be on board with this idea that it's not just all about academic excellence. But today we talked a lot about the word strength. I think that's like the biggest thing that I got from today. And it's every single child has like their strength, and what does that look like, and how can we promote that?
Flourishing doesn't mean grades, right? Flourishing means success for that student. So we have some where we look through like year 7 maybe, for example, after a few months, look through the attendance. They haven't been tardy in 2 weeks. That's amazing. That's flourishing for the student because he's getting where he needs to go with the things that he needs. So the success looks different, and the criteria for success is a bit different.
I think it's very subjective, this term of flourishing. It really depends on each student's needs, as you guys all said. And I think back then for me, it would have been like, I think I struggle with time management quite a bit. And for me, given the last 2 years of the IB, there are a lot of deadlines, like internal assessments, extended essay, a lot of things all together at the same time period. And you were talking about how teachers have a very tight deadline. Students also do, unfortunately. And we also have to put in a lot of time for that. So I think, yeah, for me, in terms of flourishing, I would, as long as I'm on top of my work and I know when to get things done, how to get it done on time, then that would be me flourishing. Yeah.
How important is the school-family partnership, do you feel, for learning enhancement?
I feel like it's absolutely crucial. For it to be a successful program, there does need to be that kind of open-minded, like clear communications between home and school. We do, I mean, I always say I see it as a bit of a marriage, right? Yeah. So we choose you guys, but you also choose us. So we're really committed to like doing what's best for our children. And in that regard, I think, being able to share what happens, like for example, if we do assessments outside, or if we have other insights from home to school, it does give everyone a bigger picture. And so even from like a learning and teaching standpoint, strategies that they share at school, or for example, strategies that we get from outside therapy sessions, also then can be generalized between like the different contexts. And then just thinking about from a child's perspective, I think they do notice, right? Like they do notice when they struggle. They do notice because they're so self-aware and they see where their differences are with their friends. But when they see that kind of communication between parents and their teachers, I think they feel that, they're being seen and heard. And that does help to build their self-confidence and motivation.
For me, why I actually, learned about learning enhancement and, got that report that like I need, it was actually because of school. They talked to my parents about this kind of issue, and my parents, learned from that, and they brought me to do that report, that testing to see, what exactly, is my issue. And I feel like without the communication between school and my parents won't know what to do, like how to like understand me, how to accommodate me. And so the conversation, the dialogue between the parents and the school is very essential to like as as a student
Yeah.
at their growth and even for the parents' growth, as you said.
Yeah, speaking of teachers, like teachers also provide a lot of support to us.
Yeah.
Like after class, they would be like, they would catch up and say, "Hey, Caitlin, how are things going? Do you need any extra help? If so, like we can meet up and talk about it more or go over things." And I think that's really helpful for them to be aware that this
Yeah.
particular student needs a little of an extra push or help. Yeah.
What kinds of things do you think we should be thinking about and doing moving forward?
For me, as a new member of the community, I'm really excited that every learner flourishing is part of the Vision 33. I know we have a policy in secondary aligned with the IB, but I would love to see a through school inclusion policy and to really articulate clearly to all stakeholders, parents, students, teachers, everybody about the what and the how of learning enhancement or student support. I think the why is very clear to everyone. We all have a common purpose here to support student success. But the what and the how may not be obvious to everybody.
Trying to increase sort of flexibility in a way. So like in secondary, thinking about, we have this schedule that's very rigid. You have to be in this place at this time. That's kind of tough to get around. If something like thinking about a CIS lab, you can't go over the time because the students have to get to INSO. They can't be late for lunch because they have to eat, and they can't be late for English. So the flexibility is tough. And then I think like sort of the resources and the time to sit back and say this is what a particular student needs and to think it through and what could it look like for the next project takes a lot of time. And so I think providing people with that time to think about it, and then the school's great about PD, so having like professional development that you can think about it and learn some innovative ways is quite good. But flexibility would be one. Flexibility and resources, I think, would be one.
CIS does like a lot of really great work, but sometimes the parents or the parent community doesn't really know about it.
Right.
So in terms of just student, learning enhancement or like student support services, I think it would be quite important to know about all of these things and all of these services that are being provided, as opposed to being told like, during parent-teacher conferences or, there's like a lot of good support in terms of CIS.
So is there anything that you feel like we haven't talked about that we should talk about that it's important to know regarding learning enhancement at CIS?
Amongst my cohort, there wasn't a lot of stigma around learning enhancement, actually. I think people were very accepting of that. Regardless of whatever reason you need learning enhancement, people are just cool with it. I actually am proud of CIS in that way, that we don't have some sort of negative thoughts towards people who need learning enhancement.
Something I'm really proud of as a new member of the CIS community is that learning enhancement is part of our educational program. There isn't an additional cost incurred by parents of children who receive these services, and it's just part of really good practice. And not many schools in Hong Kong do provide that as part of their service, so it's something that I think we can really stand up and be proud about.
Thank you very, very much, dear participants, for sharing with us so inspiringly and incisively about how we at CIS must and do make every effort to ensure that each of the learners in our care is able to flourish. Take care, everyone.